This program was made possible by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
When local growers put great food on Tennessee tables, that's living green. On the next Live Green Tennessee, we stop by Cellar 53 Winery in Brush Creek, Tennessee. Next, we visit local food, local people in Weakley County. And finally, we travel to Knoxville to rediscover the St. James Sessions. All this and more coming up next on Live Green Tennessee.
Pick Tennessee helps you find local farms and farmers markets, plus offers tips for choosing, using, and storing the fresh foods you buy. The Pick Tennessee mobile app is available now on iTunes and Google Play.
What makes our state unique? Find out on the Tennessee Channel. A statewide initiative by your public television stations. Each program is created in Tennessee, about Tennessee, and broadcasted in Tennessee.
Hello, I'm Melinda Kiefer, and I'm proud to bring you stories from across our great state on Live Green, Tennessee. Cellar 53 Winery, built with the hard work of the Pascal family, first opened on Easter Sunday of 2015. Now with 8 acres of vineyards, they offer nearly 10 handcrafted wines that range from dry to sweet.
I have been a home winemaker since about 2008 was my first foray into home winemaking. And commercial winemaking we opened and I started making wine in August of 2014. We are located in Brush Creek, Tennessee, a mile and a half off of exit 254 on Interstate 40.
I jokingly tell a lot of folks that the way we got into this is we took too many trips to the West Coast. And we came back and actually researched, kind of finding out, could we grow grapes in this area? And planted a small little vineyard behind the house and never got a grape off of them. And researched a little bit more and actually found out that our state was trying to promote folks to replace the loss of tobacco revenue in our state.
University of Tennessee started to promote it as an alternative to tobacco, and that we felt like that we could utilize one of the farms anyway to get started, and we would use that as something that would help us to keep the farm viable.
It was as a part of trying to save the family farm. This was initially going to be a 3-phased subdivision, and we were able to purchase the remaining 2nd and 3rd phase and convert it back into farmland.
At first, we were commercial growers. So in 2005, when my in-laws sold the last lot in phase 1 of the subdivision on my husband's grandfather's farm, we decided to ask to buy the remaining farm out. So we planted Cayuga White and Chamberson, which are grapes from upstate New York. They're French hybrids, and had our first crop in 2007.
Looking at the soil types here, the grapes have a they do pretty well here because supposedly France's soil conditions are very similar to ours.
Grape growing in Tennessee is very viable. Currently, there are 900 producing acres across the state with, I would say, probably several hundred different growers. But before Prohibition, the state had 19,000 acres of producing vineyards. So those were all pulled up right before Prohibition took effect and were replaced, say, by tobacco crops or other crops. And now the grape industry is slowly growing back in Tennessee because there is awareness now that we can produce a crop and it be a quality wine and a quality product.
So everything was kind of conducive for growing grapes. Never would have thought in a million years that we would have this out here, but it was something that we were really passionately interested in.
The big thing is to have a market for the grapes, and that's what we were challenged with to begin with. It was to be able to find a market for grapes back then.
We had a crop that we could not sell, and thankfully another winery took it, and at that point we decided we better have plan B, and so we decided to start a commercial winery. And we began in 2012 on the building that we're in. It's just a simple pole barn. It was a family project to finish it out, so everything is reclaimed that's in it. We've tried to use all stuff from Habitat or something that was torn out of another place, and got permission from our county and started making wine in 2014.
About April 15th to about September 15th to October 1st it's game on. And you can have a great crop up until about the end of July, and something can go wrong. And so you always have got to stay on top of it.
The humidity makes it almost impossible to be completely organic. We try to be as no pesticides and use some organic products that we can, but there is a mold and mildew issue, and so you have to constantly be in the vineyard and be vigilant about that. So instead of bird cannons or other chemical agents, we net the entire vineyard. And this helps with the birds, the turkeys, and the deer and the raccoons, because everything, once the grape starts getting sweet and the birds can see it, they'll fly in, and we've lost 1,000 pounds or more in just a few days. Currently, everything we sell, with the exception of one wine, is Tennessee fruit. We have our blackberry wine here, and all of our blackberries are grown on site and picked by my children. And that's a huge seller. Of our 11 wines that you can taste here now, 10 of them are grown in Tennessee, if not right here on the farm. If any of my neighbors have fruit, or any of the farmers around me have fruit that they could not do something with, they can bring it here, and I will process it into wine, because it doesn't have to be beautiful for me to make wine out of it. In September, when we'll usually start picking about Labor Day weekend, we'll be processing that entire month in September, so you can actually come see the process. Especially on the red wine, you can actually taste new wine when we're out pressing, because we try to press on Saturdays.
What makes it all worthwhile is to see the beauty when it's all matured and you've got it groomed and the way they grow. So it's a beautiful thing to have access to see.
You want to come out on a Saturday and see how the process goes, and see crushing and destemming and the whole pressing process, please come out and see that and be a part of that, because it's really interesting, and we'll let you taste the juice or the wine.
Local food, local people. It's where local community members, farmers, schools, nonprofits, and city council, and more are coming together to discuss ways to strengthen local food systems, strengthen economic development, and promote better health development in Weakley County.
I am the program administrator for the Northwest Tennessee Entrepreneur Center in Martin, and I'm also the director for our first ever Weakley County local food guide and the start of our local food network. It's about building community through food. So we hope to create a local food network where we forge collaborations, and we are able to communicate what we're doing to help strengthen the local food system here in our county, but not only in Weakley County, in the whole entire northwestern Tennessee region. From what we learn about the resources we have currently in our food system, we're going to move from there and figure out what are our gaps, what are our needs, and eventually make an action plan. We hope to connect more producers with consumers. There's an education element to this process, and there's also a community economic development element as well. On the education side, we would like to attract new and young farmers and ranchers into the system that can build and add on to our local food system, as well as the school system and younger children growing up learning about agriculture and gardening and crops and how to eat properly and good nutrition. Now, being in northwestern Tennessee, we are in the agriculture belt, so a lot of folks already know this, but like our grandmamas, a lot of people don't do gardens anymore. They don't know how potatoes grow. They haven't seen the beauty of an asparagus plant. So there is that educational element and encouragement within the community. On the community economic development side, so if we get these new producers and existing producers to come together to create a stronger food system, that not only creates a stronger local food economy, but it also strengthens our community. And it strengthens our community in several different ways. One is that if our community eats the food that is produced in our area, especially lots of vegetables, of course, that creates a healthier community. When you have a healthier community, you have a healthier workforce. And when you have a healthier workforce, you have a stronger local economy because more people are able to work, they're able to play longer, and they're able to live happily without being sick all the time. So me and my friend, we were talking one day over tea, and we thought, wouldn't it be great if there was a list of producers that we could look at and see where we could find our fresh eggs, our fresh meat, our tomatoes, our corn in season, our sweet potatoes, and all of the farm fresh foods that are available in our area. Right now, the only way to do that is going to the farmers markets and talking to the people when it's in farmers market season. But what do you do when it's off season? So we decided to create a local food guide because we both have kids. We both want our kids to eat healthy and our families to eat healthy. And we also want to encourage our children and have them have a relationship with the community based around food. Because it's really nice to know where your food comes from, and it makes them more appreciative and eat their dinner when it comes down to it. We're actually previewing our first ever Weakley County local food guide. It's really exciting. We hope to continue this and have the guide grow, not only within Weakley County, but also have it for our entire region, the 9-county region in northwestern Tennessee. We started it here in Weakley County because, well, that's where we live, and it's a good pilot project. So along with this guide, that was actually the motivation behind it was our children. What has come out of the guide is the creation of the local food network. And because of the conversations that I've had with producers and hearing their stories and having them share their needs and their wants and their desires and their dreams about what they foresee as a local food system and how they foresee our area and how their children will be growing up in this area, we created this forum. And so we hope to learn even more and figure out a way to get more fresh food into our schools, whether it's a farm to school program, whether it's creating raised gardens in our school, or maybe even developing a school curriculum that has a growing element to it. We have 2 farmers markets in our area that have just built structures. Martin has a new structure for their farmers market built last year. 2 years ago, Dresden started a farmers market. So that's proof right there that there is a need for a gathering place in the community that's focused on food, that's focused on eating. Now, we all have to eat, so why not eat healthy? And in the meantime, you really meet really great characters at the farmers market. Part of the big overarching goal of this whole entire project is to reach our low-income individuals, families, and senior citizens, because they are the ones that are most affected with food insecurity. In our county alone, we are known as a food desert, which means there's not enough fresh food for people. Well, not even fresh food, there's just not enough food for people to access. Like in Martin, you gotta go to the Walmart, but you know, in Sharon, there's the Dollar General where you could get maybe some Cheerios and some milk, but really as far as a wide variety of food, that's very hard to come by. So food insecurity is a big problem in our county. Just alone looking at SNAP participation, which is you know, food stamp participation in our county, there's a 25% participation rate. So 25% right there of our county's population is food insecure. They don't have enough food to put on the table. They go to bed hungry, they wake up hungry, and they're living, you know, month by month. At the end of the month, where are they getting their food? It's a big problem. So that's one of our main goals, is to close that gap, to get food to people who need it. Because if you know of anybody who has a garden, there's always surplus. I mean, you grow zucchinis, you got zucchinis coming out of your ears, so why not share that with your neighbors? Share that with organizations that are helping get food to those low-income families and individuals, and especially senior citizens who are on a fixed income.
Long before you could download your favorite tune, and Nashville was the music hub it is today, record labels traveled the country making field recordings of regional musicians and artists. 2 of these sessions happened at a hotel in downtown Knoxville. We talked with Bradley Reeves and Eric Dawson about the newly discovered St. James sessions.
Knoxville during the 1880s, 1890s was still pretty much of a rural place. You had people coming down from the mountains looking for jobs. You had the steel mills of Lonsdale. You had a lot of textile plants over around the Park City area. It was still had a lot of rural character, a lot of rural flavor to it, and a lot of musicians, a lot of music everywhere. There were the fiddling contests on Market Square. Back then there was a great big a building called the Market House that actually had an auditorium, and folks would come from miles around to participate in these fiddling contests. Not only was it a rural place, it happened to be an urban area at the same time. So you had these two factions going on at once. You had the opera and you had fiddling contests. Very unique city, Knoxville, during that time. The St. James Hotel was part of that. The hotel itself was originally built in 1905, and it was known as the Van de Ventnor. It was touted as a modern European fireproof hotel with 150 rooms, each including its own bath, which was quite special.
Brunswick Bulk Colander Company out of Chicago, they were primarily known for making billiard tables, but they were manufacturing a lot of different things. And in the 1910s, they got into the record manufacturing business. Now, before the Knoxville sessions of 1929, which were the first of 2, there were about 120 location recordings that had already been done. And these were companies in New York and Chicago. Really, there were only 3, OK, Columbia, and Victor. And what they decided is that instead of having artists come up to New York or Chicago to record, they would go out in the field and record them with portable recording equipment. And they went all over. They went over the South, the Southwest, recording a wide variety of music. And in 1927, the famous Bristol sessions happened. Victor went to Bristol, Tennessee, and recorded what became known as the Big Bang of country music. Columbia Records saw this and thought it was pretty interesting, so they went down to Johnson City to do something similar. Well, by 1928, Brunswick Vocalion had got into the field recording business, so they chose Knoxville as sort of like the next logical hillbilly or old-time music location to record in. Through the railroad, they came in with several tons of equipment. These recording apparatuses were very heavy and very expensive and difficult to move around. They set up in a radio studio that was in the mezzanine of the St. James Hotel.
A lot of furniture stores sponsored a lot of the early recording sessions to sell phonograph records. I mean, back then, that was a real piece of furniture. If you see those wind-up Victrolas, they're beautiful wood pieces, and well, you got to have records to play on these. So a lot of furniture stores started sponsoring these recording sessions. In the case of Knoxville, it was the Sturkey Brothers department store down on the 100 block of Gay Street. They really went into the business full force. They were distributors for the Vocalion record label. They put out an ad. You can still see it today in the microfilm. It says, "Come to make records." And they invited all musicians, anyone, to come to the St. James Hotel and participate in recording sessions. It was quite a big deal. It was run by a fellow by the name of Richard Voynow, who was one of the heads of Brunswick Vocalion in Chicago. And Voynow himself was a former jazz musician who played with various jazz bands during the 1920s, which may account for the different styles of music found in these sessions. Bill Brown had participated in the Columbia Johnson City sessions before, and he was great to have as a producer for these recordings. He, of course, was Atlanta-based, but he was familiar with Southerners and the South, shared the same sense of humor. He was able to draw out musicians during the recording sessions, make them feel comfortable, make them feel at home.
So Richard Voynow and Bill Brown arrived in Knoxville a few days before the sessions in August 1929 to do a little scouting and try to find some talent for these sessions. And about 25 artists were picked. The majority of the artists were from Knoxville and East Tennessee, though you did have people coming from as far away as Kentucky, from Middle Tennessee. The Knoxville acts have been people like the Tennessee Ramblers, the Rigel's Fountain Cityans, Tennessee Chocolate Drops, Leola Manning, Odessa Chancellor. From Middle Tennessee, you had the Perry County Music Makers. Uncle Dave Macon came. Uncle Jimmy Thompson came to perform as well.
Some of the early recordings by Will Bennett, sort of a mystery man. He cut two really interesting blues recordings, including one that would be a standard later, Railroad Bill.
Railroad Bill done took my wife, threatened on me that he would take my life. Now I'm gonna ride my railroad bill.
Maynard Baird and his Southern Serenaders recorded a total of 6 jazz and pop sides. They were one of Knoxville's really popular house bands. They played all over Knoxville and all over the South on tour, and at certain points played on the same bill with folks like Rudy Valley. They were that popular.
Some of these recordings have been available since the 1960s, when a lot of sort of 78 collectors were really getting into that and finding these. And then there was another sort of spurt of interest maybe once, you know, the internet came along and people were able to do more research and track this stuff down.
A lot of the recordings sort of fell through the cracks. The sessions had ill timing due to the Depression. Hence, very few people were buying records. No one could afford them. And the records themselves were pressed in very, very small numbers. Today, very few of them survive. They just didn't make it. And in certain cases, there's only one copy on the planet.
Well, and it's also really interesting that a lot of people who recorded at these sessions would continue to have careers in Knoxville and beyond after that. You know, obviously Howard Armstrong's probably the most famous person that recorded there. But a lot of these other performers also went on to perform in WNOX and radio stations around Knoxville. They would tour and travel.
Their legacy, it's a story of Knoxville. It's a story of Knoxville's community, Knoxville's musical history, our regional cultural heritage. That is the legacy of this music. It's carried on music from 85 years ago and captured it for posterity today.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Live Green Tennessee, where we take you all across the state into the farms and businesses of those who are making the move to eating fresh, living sustainably, and helping us all be more organic in our thinking and the way we live our lives as Tennesseans. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on Live Green Tennessee.
If you would like more information about Live Green Tennessee, please visit our website at livegreentv.org, where you can find everything from healthy recipes to past episodes and more.
Pick Tennessee helps you find local farms and farmers markets, plus offers tips for choosing, using, and storing the fresh foods you buy. The Pick Tennessee mobile app is available now on iTunes and Google Play.
What makes our state unique? Find out on the Tennessee Channel. A statewide initiative by your public television stations. Each program is created in Tennessee, about Tennessee, and broadcasted in Tennessee. This program was made possible by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.